Hi, and welcome to Origin of Concepts. In this episode, I will talk a little about Krishna's flute from the Vedic or India mythology, which became the foundation for Hinduism, for example. But I prefer to go to the source and not so much into the interpretations in the Hinduism itself, because it's, I will not say corrupted, but there's a lot of misinterpretations in Hinduism and Buddhism. So let's always keep our heads at the roots, so to speak. In Hindu mythology, or India mythology, Lord Krishna received his divine flute either as a gift from Shiva, who crafted it from the bones of such Dadichi, which is a another god, or by selecting a humble bent bamboo from the Yamuna riverbank. He plays the flute to entrance all living beings, call his cows or cattle, and enchant the gopis, the cowherd girls. And it's no secret that the flute and Krishna himself can be found in the Milky Way center. So let's take a look at the Milky Way here. I will make a specific video on Krishna himself, because he's a very important character. So in this video we will concentrate on the flute itself, but I'll come up with some hints. Okay, Krishna's flute is, of course, the striped shadow here. And Krishna is visualized as the disc and the striped shadow, as always. So if you imagine that this is the head of Krishna and this is his body, like in all the other myths. And I'll remove Krishna again, because he's not so vital in this video, but just to let you know so you have it in mind. The flute in Krishna's mouth is visualized by the striped shadow in the great mouth of the Milky Way center. And let me quick draw it here. Where do we start? Here. This is the great mouth of the Milky Way. Or maybe he's smoking Faro cigars. So here you see Krishna blowing the flute. And he's also holding the flute in his hand, which is visualized by the hand here. The silvery shadow is always the hand, and the stripes here is the fingers. So here you got the hand holding the flute. Okay, let's get into some key features to understand what I'm babbling about here. Shiva crafted the flute from the bones of Satya Dadichi. This is a god, which is completely, he has no role in this video to understand anything. Except from his name, and I'll get back to that. But first of all, the bones he took to make the flute is, of course, the stripes here in the striped shadow. So he collect the bones and make the flute. And then the name Satya Dadichi means one whose body parts are strengthened by cheese mass. So his body is getting strong because of mass of cheese. And what else? because this is his body. This is always the body of the gods. And here we got the big cheese in the Milky Way and the golden disk, of course. And the spirit light from the golden cheese is running down through the body. And the striped shadow is, of course, the cheese mass. So that's where they got this funny idea from. You know, in Hinduism, many of the terms and way of speech, you know, it's not the original Vedic expressions. So that's why it sometimes get a little, crumbling, or a little, some funny stories, who not always make sense. But, they always got it from somewhere. And if you go to the bottom of the origin, you can very quick find the solution of the babbling, so to speak. By the way, the babbling also come from the Milky Way mouth and the striped shadow going out, just in Bible terms. So when you're babbling, it's the striped shadow coming out of the big mouth in the Milky Way. Okay, let's go on to the next here. The sound and the sound or vibration from Krishna's flute are considered the origin of the Vedic hymns. And for those of you who don't know what the Vedic is, it's the 4 textures, or the 4 ways of practicing the Hindu, not religion, because Hinduism is not a religion. It's more like lifestyle, so to speak, based on symbolic and practices and stuff like that. But the Vedic hymns are the starting point, so to say. And of course the sound is the striped shadow here, and which coming out of the great mouth. I think you understand it. And the 4 Vedas is the first thing manifested. The voice from above is the first thing manifested in the physical world, like in all other stories around the world. And this sound or speech of God, is manifested on tablets or in books or in the Vedas. And there is specifically 4 Vedas. So let me draw them for you. Because the Vedas, here you got one Veda, 2 Vedas, 3 Vedas, and here's the 4th Veda. And, it also looks like small scrolls. So just to, the Jews, or the in the Abrahamic or the Western philosophy, so to speak, they got the scrolls, papyrus or paper or whatever, inside 2 rolls, and they could, But here it's the 4 sections of the striped shadow. They are always split up in pairs, and here we got 4 pairs, so that's the Vedics, the Vedic texture of Vedic books. Okay, the sound vibration of Krishna's flute initiated the Gayatri, which means mother of the Vedas mantra. It's a mantra of the mother of the Vedas. That's the oldest and most sacred Vedic chant to invoke the divine light for illuminating the mind and intellect. Yeah, so to cook it down so everyone can understand, the first and most important chant is what we just spoke about, the first speech of God. And it's, of course, it goes to the mother, because it's the mother who manifests the spirit in the mortal world. So, of course, the mother, or the female aspect of the universe is the most important part. So Gayatri, the mother of the Vedas, is the silvery shadow with a female posture, creating the divine light, the disk. And let me draw that for you, because here we got the female in the sky. Always the silvery shadow with the crossed legs, standing in a female posture. And she is, the chanting goes into her. I'll make an arrow here. So it goes into the mother. And just to put some extra features on here, let me find the right color. The striped shadow, which is the chanting, is also the mother's womb. And what does a mother got inside a womb? She got the little baby golden disc light. She got the spirit, which is manifested through the striped shadow here into the mortal world. So here you got the entire foundation of that text. So this is the first and most important mantra in the Vedic literature. And that's very important to understand this, because then you will also understand, Virgin Mary getting Jesus. This is just a little older than the Abrahamic religions. And you will also understand why Isis in Egypt, got Horus, her son, or why Mithras or all the other characters, is based on the exact same story. And, independent of each other's cultures, because they looked up in the Milky Way. Okay, and let's move on here, because the reason why this chant has to be done is, of course, to invoke divine light for illuminating the mind and intellect. And the illumination is, of course, the bright or the golden light spirit from the disc running into the mortal world, so we can get wisdom. And just to sum it all up here, Gayatri means she who protects the singer. Wow. So now we start to loop, and that's perfect. Because, here we got, let me find the right color here. Here we got the singer, la la, singing. And then we got the mother here, protecting it with his womb here. This is the navel and her back leg here. So here you see it, everything. She's the protector of the singer. So, and then we go back and it all cycles perfect. And the Vedic textures is the most complex of all textures in the world, and the first. And because they are very, very detailed. So, but the essence is the same as all the other texts. But Hinduism is very complicated because there's so many layers, They got so many ideas. I think the Jewish literature, to be honest, because now I know the Hindu and Buddhist and the Vedas, but actually I think the Jewish literature is the most complicated of all of them, because they are, it's very complex. Because they mix so many things together, In the Indian literature, it's just one way, but they got many concepts. They can split things up to 200, 100 or 300 different things, because they got a term for almost everything. Okay, let's move on. The sound causes the Yamuna river to stop its flow, stones to melt, and the cows to stand motionless with ears erected. Okay, so let's see if we can find. So when he plays the flute, the Yamuna river stops. And of course, the river is the striped shadow. That's no secret anymore. Here, that's the river. And then stones start to melt. And of course they do, because all the stripes here are stones, or the rock in heaven. And when he starts playing the flute, the fire from the center of the Milky Way starts melting the stones. The spirit of disc light is running through the stones. And the last thing is the cows stand motionless with ears erected. Of course they do. Because here you see the cows with the ears erected. Yeah, here is the one more. So, and here is one more. So here you see the cows. It's always the cattle and the cows and the dogs and what else you find, gatekeepers and stuff like that. It's always visualized in the striped shadows in those four enclaves of twin shades in the striped shadow. We move on because the fifth note on the flute is said to specifically attract the gopi, and the gopi is the cowherd girls of the Vrindavan forest, which means the Vrindavan, which means the forest of basil. And the fifth note, the stripes in his flute here. This is also the holes or the notes in the flute. So this is just an allegory, connected to something deeper, a deeper interpretation. But the notes are just an allegory for the stripes in the striped shadow. And of course, the cowherd girls is also the stripes here in the striped shadow. And when we talk about one girl or several girls, it's always related to the silvery shadow, because this is the female here, as I just... So this is always the girls or one girl. The girls defined is the silvery shadow, and when we just talk about girls or cattle or whatever, more than one, it's a striped shadow. And the forest of basil can be found in the striped shadow here, in the green part of the Milky Way, the green field, so to speak, or the field of the forest, or the field of everything that can grow vegetables. The flute represents the hollow heart. That's like a chapter in the Vedas. And the hollow, the heart, is like it means surrendering to spirit. So let's find the hollow heart, because here we got the hollow, and inside we got the disc with the red disc light, which is the heart. And all the people here on earth, we must surround to spirit. The golden light, or the red part of the Milky Way, the spirit light. All right. The 9 holes in the flute represent the 9 openings of the human body. Or more correct, because the Vedas state the gates to the doored city. And then it mentions, our 9 openings. So, that's one more of this Hindu thing, They read one thing in the Vedas and then they, put their own mind to it. And now I'll put the origin to it. Because the 9 holes in the human body is, of course, the 9 shadows here. Or how many? It's an allegory. But there's 9. And let me see here. The 9 hole is the striped shadow, which is, of course, as I showed you before, also the body of the man. And, if I know the writers of the Vedas correct, then they are very specific of which shadows is where. So, I'll leave that for another day. Or for you. You can go read the Vedas and make up your own mind. But here we got the holes in the body of man. The 9 holes. And, the 9 holes was is mentioned as the gates to the doored city. And let me show you that. Because first of all, the striped shadow here is the gate to the city. But we also got the doors here to the city. The 3 arches. So this is the gates to the doored city. And of course the striped shadow is also the entire city here with all its towers and stuff like that. So all 3 things is based on the striped shadow. Let's move on and read the next here. The flute represents the ultimate pure love between Radha and Krishna. And Krishna is the figure here, the striped shadow. And Radha, his lovely girlfriend, so to say, is the silvery shadow here. I'll draw it now. Maybe it will spoil my flow here, but let's try. I'm hardcore now. Okay, so this is Radha and Krishna. Radha is the supreme mother, goddess, and the root nature, from which all spirit and material manifesting into the mortal world. So let's start. Because of course she is the root, because the root is the striped shadow here. We have to be very literal with some words, because it's, they wrote what they actually meant. And Radha is the silvery shadow, of course, and the root is the striped shadow. And the manifested spirit, as I already show you, is the disc here. And she manifested, the striped shadow is also the earth. This is the earth in most mythologies. So she manifests the spirit into the earth. And that's why you also got the term Mother Earth in other cultures, or Gaia. Okay, let's move on here. Krishna making his flute of a bent bamboo stalk on the banks of the Yamuna River. And but before, it was made of bones, and now it's a bamboo stick. But Krishna actually have I think it's 9 flutes. Yeah, of course, 9. There's 9 stripes in the shadow. And it's very complex because each flute has so many holes and can play that melody and for that. So I'll just keep it simple here. But he's making a flute of a bent bamboo stalk at the riverbanks. And we already know where to find the river. Oh, because this is the river here. The coiled serpent in the world myth. And then we just have to find the bended bamboo. And if you don't know, the striped shadow is the crescent. And the crescent is also the bended bamboo with all the what's the name? A bamboo is made of sections. So this is the sections of the bowed bamboo. So here we got it. And yeah, let's move on to the next. The flute is an extension of Krishna's heart. Of course it is, because we already know where to find the heart of Krishna here. And the flute of bamboo is an extension of his heart into the mortal realm, where we can obtain some wisdom or real love. That would be nice in this situation we have around the world right now. Okay. And then the flute can always be found on his waist or in his mouth. And to make a long story short, the waist of this is the waist, and his flute is hanging here in his belt, so to speak. And then we also got some local folklores, but it's one of the many folklores who actually can back up the origin of the concepts. It's not written in the Vedas, but it's just folklore. It says, Krishna broke his flute into pieces and threw it into a bush or into the woods, following the death of Ratna. So when his when his girl dies, then he will break his flute into pieces and put it into the wood. And the stripes here is, of course, all the pieces, and it's also the tree in the wood. Trees in the wood. So here you got the origin of that folklore. And I can finish this video by telling that the reason why Radha dies is basically when this part of the Milky Way disappears behind the sun. It happens. I can't remember in the Eastern Asia or in India, but I think it's the same as Egypt almost. So that will happen someplace in the autumn, and then ta-da! She come back. The light from the disk comes back on the December 25th, where we celebrating Christmas, the birth of Christ. So I think they both have seen the same golden object up there, the sun in the sky. Okay. Well, maybe I should give you the last clue here, because I actually forgot to write it into my notes, but I just saw the image, and you can see in his he got the feathers on his crown. And let me show you where to find this feather, because the feather is always the striped shadow. And here you got the eye. So this is what it's representing. So here you got the feather. Okay, that's all for now, folks. I will leave and thank you for watching. But until next video, take care. Bye.